I'm actually
The
that
thing is,
type
when
of
I
person
moved
who
here
can't
to
be
study,
just in one
it became kind of
place.
boring
I was
because Slovenia is like
first
such a small country.
grandchildren,
and
very
When you
spoiled.
think about it, and it
When we
didn't
landed in
happen to you,
Atlanta, that
you're
was
like,
first time.
you have to
All the
talk.
thoughts
what I
went
like
away.
in
First time I
Azerbaijan
saw that,
is that you can
disappearing.
always see
And they
something
don't
changing.
agree
Yeah, they
with
were
my
really,
kind
really,
of
really,
living. They
really
had
poor
problems.
before they came back to.
So because this is my life, this is not their life.
When you ask two people to tell you something interesting about them, they will tell you, I don't have anything special, I don't have anything to say, I'm not a really interesting person. We often think that only known people or celebrities have a life that is worth telling. But this is not true. We all live things. That's what I want to know. My name is Lison, I come from France, and I want to discover the stories behind people, and I'm sure you have a lot to say. Hello, Ernesta.
Hey.
You 24 years old, right?
Yeah, got it right.
Whoa. And I've seen on Instagram that you have just one picture that is here since a bit more
Long
than 1
time
year,
ago, right?
Yeah. And we had this conversation also about social media several times. This kind of fear of posting. Can
Stupid
you?
fear, right?
No, not at all. Can you? So we're gonna talk about that today, actually. Yeah. And can you explain me maybe a bit more? What's your relationship with social media in general?
I don't know. Somehow I just cannot make myself actually post something there. And I was like, with Instagram specifically, it was like, okay, so I'm gonna begin it. I'm just gonna start putting things out there because I kind of wanted it for myself, but there are these... Yeah, just like if I begin it feels like I have to go through it, and then I made this first step, and it really didn't go too much somehow. And then after some time, you have like these on Instagram, you have these notifications that are like, oh, this person haven't posted in a long time. And
Really, you have it?
Yeah, I haven't. You don't?
No, because I just started like few weeks ago, I think, and I posted some pictures. So
okay, yeah, because when you have like these people who like you follow and they didn't post in a long time, they're like put these notifications like get back to this media now because somebody posted there.
Wow.
And I'm like, after like a year and something, I'm like, oh, now it's kind of weird to start again.
Yeah.
But I always go to my Instagram wall and I'm like, okay, so this looks a little pathetic. But the funny part is I still have followers.
Maybe it's like a really, really good picture. And they all want to see it.
Yeah, exactly. The famous one picture.
Mm-hmm.
Just wow.
The picture of Ernesta.
The picture, yes.
Like, usually do you spend, when you are on social media, do you spend like a lot of time on it, or?
I do spend more than what I would like to spend. That's more likely... Like, I'm a passive user of social media. That means that I don't really post much. I don't comment. I don't share anything. I'm just kind of the passive viewer of what is happening there. And yeah, I use more likely the social media websites for just passing when I have a few minutes. Like when you're, I don't know, waiting for a bus, you just sit down, you just check what's happening. When you wake up in the morning, you just check what's happening because it feels like I don't want to wake up yet. So I'm just gonna check what's up. And it's just like you have these pauses that you fill in. But when the pause becomes too big, you start losing actual productivity. You start not managing things, and it feels like you just didn't do much in day in general. So,
And when did you start to be on social media? Do you have like all the classic social media like Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram?
Yeah, I'm really slow with these things. I got Facebook way later than all the people did. Now I got Instagram a lot later than all the people did. I had LinkedIn because I kind of had to create that for some reasons. I tried Twitter, didn't like it. I have some things, but now I'm more actively only checking, not even using, but checking Facebook, but that's more likely for the communication, like messengers and things like that. And Instagram just from time to time.
But did you start to be on it because you were like not forced to? Because now, as you said, in terms of communication, even for work, even for a lot of things, it's like not an obligation, but it depends in which kind of field you're working on. So did you really do it because you were a bit forced to, or were you kind of, okay, let's see what's going on in this?
I don't feel that I'm forced to use, like, okay, I didn't do it because I was forced to do it. But if I didn't have it, I think it would be a huge problem. Like, I do it by my wish, but I get the fact that if when there is a group of people, if you're like even for university, even for like basically everything, that says that, oh, I don't have like Messenger, I don't have this, I don't have that, there is a huge problem then.
So more and more we are seeing this kind of social anxiety topic going in some articles on the web. Do you have like a definition about what is it? And do you think it's like fitting with actually what you can have in terms of relationship with social media?
Okay, so now it depends kind of on which part we take, because they are correlated, but there is like two ways to understand it. Either like anxiety to not use media when you can't access to the, I don't know, media sources or information, or anxiety to actually put something on media. I don't feel like a huge anxiety of not seeing it, because it's like, yeah, I'm bored, don't have nothing to do, I go there. But if I don't, the only problem then is that if I don't use Messenger, because that's the main communication source for me right now. I don't have people's phone numbers, almost any of the people, only like the ones that I need to, like mom, dad, family, and kind of friends. So I'm quite okay. I get the fear of it, kind of. And I have a lot of friends who are really like are thinking in this mind frame of when you're like, look, going through life, there's something happens, and the first thing that pops into their head is like, I have to take a photo of that because I have to post it. I don't have this mind frame. Like, it just doesn't really correlate to me. But I get how that might happen.
So it's more about posting something in your case.
Yeah, for me, I just don't feel that comfortable, I guess, in sharing things usually, because of many, many reasons. I'm actually trying to define what is the reason why, because it's a little bit difficult, I guess.
When I was preparing the interview, I've seen that you can have like this fear of being judged, or also the fear of more like controlling. Is it the best I can do? Is it the best I can share, you know?
I think I kind of have a little bit of both. Yes, I think most of the people do have a little bit of both. As I mentioned, also thinking about these reasons why, and this actually correlates very well with it. Because one thing is that, okay, so talking about like personal space and personal things, our families have a huge influence on us either way, it's undeniable. My dad specifically, he was always like, yeah, you shouldn't share anything, you shouldn't, like, don't put your name anywhere, don't, like, it's like a little bit over the top on this whole topic. And yeah, kind of laughing out of it a little bit, like, come on, there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, not that I'm doing too much or anything, but it still gets in your mind a little bit. Like, in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, maybe that's not too good. Is that whatever you put on media, whatever you put on the internet, whatever you put anywhere in general, even if you delete it later on, it's not gonna extinct. It's gonna be somewhere there. It's gonna be somewhere noticeable. You can like, even if, I don't know if you've done that, but I think most of the people, for the sake of curiosity, Google their name and last name just to check what's up there. And you find these like really stupid posts from like, I don't know, 7 years ago. These photos that you already got rid of and that should not be there, but they're there. Yeah, and I see myself as well, like as, I see people, let's say, as changing creatures, let's say. And I know that the mind frame I'm in right now might be a lot different than it's going to be when I'm going to be a little, like, after a few years, let's say. The things that I like, the things that I think of might be a lot different as it was before, as it's going to be. And yeah, it feels like a little bit kind of, I don't know, insecure in a sense, I guess, to overshare too much of maybe my opinions or my views. And also this thing, as you said, with when you post something, is it good enough? Like, I know if I do the same thing after a year, probably it would be a lot better, and then I would look back and it would look quite bad at that point, and it's kind of like this kind of weird overthinking. I know it doesn't matter.
It makes sense also because there were like a lot of scandalous too. For example, we had in France this girl that participated to singing contest or something like that. And some people went to look on her Twitter what she posted like years and years ago, and they found some tweet like a bit I think racist or something like that. And the organization of the contest just choose to tell her to don't participate. So I can understand this. It's like protection also for yourself.
Yeah, and it's, of course, that's exactly the case. And yeah, when you think about, let's say, when you're searching for a workplace, if a person wants to know you, yeah, of course, he's going to go through your CV, he's going to go like motivation letter or something. There's also media access. It's also this information on the internet that you have. And yeah, and then you kind of start to think, how is it going to affect that? How you're going to be seen as? And it kind of reminds me of this like kind of a little bit of a funny situation. Like when I was in the university, I was in a radio, and like my like leader of the group wanted me to be the next leader just because I was the first year student and I could be it for a longer time. And he was like showing me around how to do things. And one of the steps was basically that for finances, I have to go to a specific person in the university. And I was just like, like just kind of scared first year student that doesn't do anything yet. Everyone is an authority. And yeah, it's kind of just this fear of contacting somebody, going to somebody's face. It's just like really, really scary. And he was like, okay. He noticed that I was kind of scared, and he was like, okay, let's do this. We're gonna go to her Facebook page. Like, this is the woman, this is the first name, last name. And you go to the Facebook page, you see the profile picture is kind of a professionally looking profile picture. The person looks serious. It's like just what you would imagine. Then you scroll through the wall and you see like all the cutest kitten photos ever. Just the videos, the photos, everything with the kittens. And you're just, yeah, these kittens now define this person to me. And you feel like a little bit more cozy with it, a little bit, because this is a human being. This is how I saw that person. Like, it's kind of weird, but as a cat lady, I guess, in a sense. Because that's the only information I got. But in this sense, then you're like, okay, so there is probably at some point going to be somebody who's going to do maybe exactly the same thing. And how do I want to be seen then? Because I think when it comes to posting to media in general, it's in often cases not showing like who you are, but you're more likely showing who you want to be seen as. Yeah, and trying to define this whole who I want to be seen as becomes a little bit, I don't know, complicated, I guess.
But is it like something that social media increase, this idea of how people see me? Is it something that you also think about in real life?
I think the difference in this case is more likely that there is at least a little degree of how you show off to people, who you are with one group of people and with the other. It's not that it has to be completely different, but it has still an influence, like what you talk about. If it doesn't affect how you talk about it, that's great, good for you. I don't know if in my behavior it's seen or not. I cannot see myself from the side, but I think it still has an effect either way. And when it comes to social media, it kind of comes off to this like who I am with them when I'm with myself, when there is no outside influences around. And this is more likely the question, because you kind of have to, in a sense, usually subconsciously, you have to define these things for yourself.
So we were talking about that before starting the interview, but you plan actually to post maybe more on some of your social media. Is it something that you miss, or is it something that you think it could be very useful for the professional life, let's say, and you have to do it in a way?
I kind of have like a few personal reasons why I would like to kind of do it. One thing is that just basically for myself in a sense, because I have okay, I'm doing photography, let's say, and yeah, it's nice to have some platform where you can put everything up there, and yeah, in a sense, yeah, it's kind of for myself, kind of not, I guess. And on the other side, it's like, since I'm doing that, it feels like I could have it as useful for just a reference to show off my works as kind of a photographer or somebody who has an interest in that. So it has this like kind of both effects for myself, and not only. Just that when it comes to photography, let's say, if then again this is kind of like a little bit of an anxiety, I guess, that if I'm doing photography somewhere, it kind of feels like you have to transfer the good quality in all these platforms too, because if you do this, then you should be good. That's kind of how it's implied. And if you do something like on a poor quality, it kind of already is weird. I mean, as I said, as you mentioned before about talking about the anxieties and everything, yeah, I do have a fear of being judged as well, because yeah, it's kind of tricky. I guess I'm like a little bit of a judgmental person myself, and I view things in a kind of a little bit of a judgmental way. Maybe I don't say it out loud, but it's kind of so, and that's exactly the standards that I raise for myself as well.
I was about to ask you, yeah, are you afraid of the feedback, like the comments you can have on some posts?
I don't think I'm planning to post such shocking things that would actually irritate people so much.
Because it makes me think, but it's also a different case, that I have one friend which actually has a YouTube channel, and once she was telling me, because I had a blog, back in the time, and I was more writing about the books I was reading, and she was like, you should open a YouTube channel, it would be nice to, it's more entertaining, it's better to see the person talking and so on. And I was like, it's not so much about showing myself, but it's more about the comment for me, if I'm thinking about that. Like the fact of receiving negative comments, but like just insulting comments, because it's also a part of social media. We have a lot of violence on, especially I'm thinking about Twitter, of people reacting very violently, sometimes out of nowhere. So it can be also something scary.
I think I just didn't have this experience of getting that. Maybe if I did, then I would be probably terrified. But I didn't have that. More likely, I think most of the judgment is being done in the minds of people. And I just don't like the way things might show off as, because in this case, you cannot communicate, you cannot discuss things through. It's either a person gets it that way or gets it the other way. And maybe this is kind of like a little bit of a control freak in me that wants to have the ability to kind of have a little bit more of a control of talking things through instead of assuming. Because when you're in person, it's always a little bit different. You see how a person reacts to things. You see how when something goes wrong, you know that you can just explain your idea, and if it's not taken, it's not taken. If it's taken, it's taken. But it's less of an assumption, less chance of an assumption. And I guess when it comes to social media, just put something up, and however they understand it that way. And kind of a interesting thing is that, like, actually nobody overthinks it that much. But as an overthinking myself, I kind of think that, like, what if there is this, like, this little thought in it.
And talking about overthinking, before this interview, you prepared it a bit because you were stressed about that. Did you write something that you wanted to talk about more than what we talked about already?
Like, I literally have to go through my book now, through my pages. No, I think it's, as we spoke as well, I think it's just like a huge irony to be talking in general, because that's one of the things that I kind of is part of the whole anxiety thing, that there is a reason why I don't share things. And this is exactly about sharing things.
It is.
So it's kind of going through my own fears and trying to defeat my own kind of weird fears.
So it's kind of a challenge, what we're doing right now, for you.
Yeah, it is. It is kind of a challenge, I guess. I wish it not to be like that, but
You consider yourself as an anxious person?
most of the time, no. Like most of the time, I don't have this kind of social anxiety, and I think that's kind of the exact thing that makes it weird because people who usually are scared to talk to others in general, like to share about themselves in person, usually those are the ones who are scared to share information on media as well. Yeah, and I don't have it when it comes to being in person, but I do when it comes to being on media. Maybe maybe it has to do with a self-definition, because yeah, I think yeah, media is kind of a tool that you define yourself with. And if I don't know how I want to be seen as, I won't really know what to kind of, yeah, post. And that's the part of overthinking, because most of the time I don't think people think about that. And then I do. And sometimes, like there is this thing that when you, for example, you go for people's Instagrams and you see the style, you see this kind of a specific vibe that it has. And I feel that I don't have that. Like I don't have this kind of flowy kind of one direction made kind of vibe. It's just like a lot of different things, a lot of different sides of a person in general. And yeah, and then it kind of like this goes to this crisis of definition. Should I be actually defining myself in one way, or should I be free to have these like bunch of other ways? And I was talking to one friend as well, actually. And what she said was basically that when she got into a specific group of people, she noticed that like her, let's say, Instagram post became like really, really different, because she felt that she has a need to show herself in a different way from the time when she was a part of the group. I don't know, I find it really interesting how that actually affects.
Yeah, we adapt a lot to different people and to different groups of people. You're not the same with your family, then with people with who you work with, then with some of your friends. And yeah, for sure, you don't show the same aspect of your own personality.
And then there is this kind of a question, how do I show this real side of me, that the one that's not really affected by this family or friends or anything, but the one who should be this purest version of you. And even the question is also, if I want to show it, if I want to show this side that is true, or do I want to show myself as something that's maybe
the
not
best version of yourself in a way.
Yeah, or the best version of who I want to be. And I think it's really, really confusing in a sense. And yeah, and that's, as for myself as well, is that if I start something, I kind of feel like I have to go through it a lot. And if I don't feel that I'm ready to start something, in this sense, maybe this is also a little bit like the question of a definition. If I'm not sure of how I want to define myself in this specific area, I don't feel free to actually start it.
Yeah, but for you, yeah, you would like to be sure, okay, that's going to be my direction. I'm going to show this. And once I have an idea of what direction I want to take, I'm going to invest time in it.
It's kind of not as well, because I think what I want to do here is that I want to, instead of thinking of how do I want to be perceived or what do I want to show, I kind of would like to be free and to feel safe with who I am and what I feel like. And maybe that's something that I'm still kind of trying to build, to just dissociate myself from the influence of others, and try to do something that's purely myself and purely not caused by some reason of, yeah, this is the person that I consider to be cool, and now I want to be cool, and this is the style, so I'm going to copy the style, I'm going to put it up there. No. At this point, I just want to be kind of be safe with who I am and with my thoughts and what I consider to be interesting or what I consider to be worthy of attention, and yeah, distract myself from other influences. And of course, that's maybe more likely an assumption, but I think not that many people are capable to distract themselves to the degree where they wouldn't care actually how things that they think are nice, that they think are beautiful, let's say, that they think are right, gonna be perceived by others.
Okay, great. Do you want to add something else, Ernesta, about that topic?
Probably. No, it's bullshit. No, I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me and helping me fight my fears in different ways. So yeah, thank you for this conversation, I guess.
Thank you to you. I know it's like a big things to talk about that. So thank you very much for being here and for having done it. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you want to participate, to talk about a specific topic or something that happened to you, you can send me a private message on Center Mladi Koper Facebook page. I will be really happy to meet you. See you soon for a new story.